My name is Mia Thompson. I'm 24. If you pull up my LinkedIn profile right now, you'd see the whole polished package. Junior account manager at Sterling and Draper, one of the most prestigious communications agencies in Manhattan. You'd see a cum laude degree from NYU. You'd see the glowing recommendations, the volunteer work, the list of skills that make it look like I was born with an iPhone in one hand and a brand strategy in the other. People call me a rising star. My boss, Mr. Cullen, calls me a shark in the water, even though he smiles when he says it. My parents back in Ohio are so proud they practically burst when they tell the neighbors their daughter conquered New York. But there's one thing you won't find on any social media account, not on any resume. It's the story of how I actually got this job. It's the story of a crime that has no evidence, no witnesses, and technically no victim, if you go by the official narrative. There's just me. And there's Lena Martinez, my best friend, the person I loved more than the sister I never had. And the person I destroyed with a single press of the enter key. This isn't an excuse. I'm not looking for forgiveness, because I know it doesn't exist for things like this. I just need this story to exist somewhere outside my head, because the silence in my queen's apartment sometimes gets so loud I think my ears might bleed. So, listen up. This is the truth. The only truth I have left. We met our freshman year at NYU. It was at a Think Coffee on Mercer Street. I was fumbling through my change in line, trying not to drop a stack of communication theory textbooks. I was the girl from the suburbs who still wore sensible shoes and checked her phone map every 5 minutes. Lena was in front of me. She turned around when she heard me drop a pen. I remember that moment as clearly as if it were yesterday. She was luminous. That's the only word. She had on a vintage blazer that would have looked like a rag from Goodwill on anyone else, but on her it looked like high fashion. She had thick, dark curls pulled back in a messy bun, and her eyes brown, lively, laughing. "You dropped this," she said, picking up the pen. Her voice was slightly husky, confident, but warm. "Freshman, yeah," I mumbled. "How could you tell? You have the deer in the headlights look, and that's Professor Greenbird's syllabus. He's a monster, but you'll survive." "I'm Mia. She paid for my coffee. Just like that. My treat, Mia. We city survivors gotta stick together." From that day on, we were inseparable. We were the classic duo that screenwriters love to put in coming-of-age movies. Lena was the charisma. I was the brains. Lena was the fire that drew everyone in. I was the one who made sure the fire didn't burn down the house. She lived in Brooklyn, in Bushwick, in a loft with 3 roommates, always smelling of incense and someone's weed. I rented a tiny studio in Astoria, Queens that smelled like fried onions from the Greek diner downstairs. Lena could walk into a room and 5 minutes later know everyone's name, their star sign, and their childhood trauma. People gravitated to her. She had that rare quality that makes you feel like the most important person in the world when she looks at you. Me? I was the diligent one. I was the one who sat in Bob's library until 2 in the morning, meticulously checking every footnote in my papers. I was smart, yes, ambitious, but my ambition was quiet, cold, born out of a deep fear of not being good enough. I always felt like I had to work twice as hard to get half of what Lena got, just by smiling. I didn't hate her for it. I admired her. I basked in her glow. I was Lena's friend, and for a while that seemed enough. Until we graduated college. The job market in New York is a meat grinder, especially in PR. Thousands of graduates with burning eyes and Ivy League degrees, ready to work for food and experience. We both applied for the post-grad internship at Adler & Kane. This agency is legendary. Soho office, Fortune 500 clients, parties written up in page 6. Getting an internship there is a win. Nabbing the 1 junior associate position after the internship, that's the golden ticket for life. They took both of us. 3 months of hell. We ran for oat milk lattes for creative directors who didn't even know our names. We did research until 3 in the morning. We organized events, hauling boxes while wearing heels. And we were the best. By the end of the summer, it was clear that only 2 people were contenders for the single open position, her and me. Kevin, our supervisor, told us straight up, "Girls, you're both amazing, but there's only 1 seat." The final pitch is going to decide everything. The assignment was simple and brutal. Develop a brand relaunch strategy for a struggling organic cosmetics line. Presentation in 1 week. The winner gets the contract, the insurance, the $65,000 salary, and an office view of the Hudson. The loser gets a recommendation letter and a polite good luck out there. We barely spoke that week. The tension hung between us like the humid air in the subway in July. We smiled at each other in the office kitchen, but our eyes were cold. The day before the presentation, Lena came over to my place in Astoria. It was a muggy Thursday. My apartment windows were open, letting in the roar of the N train rattling on the elevated tracks. Lena looked exhausted, bags under her eyes, hair not as shiny as usual. "I'm so tired, Mia," she said, collapsing onto my cheap IKEA couch. "I'm just burned out. We ordered pizza, opened a bottle of cheap Pinot Grigio. For an hour, we were just friends again. We laughed, reminiscing about our ethics professor who wore socks with sandals. We talked about guys, how expensive rent was, about anything but the morning to come. Around 11 p.m., Lena got up. "I gotta go home. If I don't get some sleep, I won't even remember my own name tomorrow." She called an Uber. We hugged at the door. "May the best woman win," she whispered in my ear. There was no malice in it, just exhaustion and love. "Good luck, Lee," I replied. She left. I closed the door, leaned my back against it, and let out a breath. My heart was pounding. My own presentation was ready. It was good, solid, analytically flawless. I'd done the SWOT analysis, researched the competitors, and budgeted every single penny, but I knew it wasn't enough. I knew that when Lena got up on that stage, she wouldn't talk about numbers. She would tell a story. She would make them feel the brand, and they would choose her, because they always choose her. I walked into the room to clear the pizza box, and then I saw it. A silver MacBook was lying on the couch cushion, half covered by a throw blanket. Lena had forgotten her laptop. My stomach twisted. The first thought was to call her. "Hey, turn the cab around. You forgot your computer." I picked up my phone, found her contact. My finger hovered over the call button, and I didn't press it. Instead, I looked at the laptop. It was asleep. I opened the lid. The screen came to life, asking for a password. I knew the password. Of course, I knew the password. We were best friends. Rocco 2015, her first dog's name. "Don't do it, Mia," said the voice in my head. The voice of conscience, the voice of my mother, the voice of everything good in me. "Just call her. She'll come back. Get it, and tomorrow you'll fight fair." But there was another voice, the voice that had whispered to me for years that I would always be the sidekick, that I would always be Elena's friend, that I would never be bright enough to be noticed on my own. "Fair?" that voice asked. "Is it fair that she gets everything without even trying, while you bust your ass? Is it fair that tomorrow she'll walk in, smile, flip her hair, and they'll forget all your sleepless nights and perfect reports?" I typed the password. Lena's desktop was a chaotic mess of files and screenshots, but right in the middle was a folder. Final pitch. I opened the presentation, and a cold wave of horror and admiration washed over me. It was genius. She wasn't just suggesting a rebrand. She was proposing a complete paradigm shift. The visuals were daring. The slogans went straight to the heart. She suggested partnering with local artists, an idea that was so obvious, and yet I had missed it completely. It was fresh. It was bold. It was... Lena. Compared to it, my presentation looked like a high school report. I knew I had lost. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. she would show this, and I would be sent home with a polite rejection. I'd be back in Ohio, or working as a Starbucks barista, paying off student loans for the next 20 years. Time stopped. All I could hear was the hum of the refrigerator and my own breath. My hands moved faster than my brain. I got a flash drive. I copied the folder. Then I closed her laptop. I sat down at my computer. My fingers were shaking so hard I could barely hit the keys. I found an old site where you could create a throwaway email. Anonymous_tipster_NYC. I attached Lena's presentation file, and I wrote an email to the general HR address for Adler and Kane and CC'd our supervisors. Subject: plagiarism in candidate Elena Martinez's work. Text: "Dear colleagues, I consider it my duty to inform you that the concept Elena Martinez plans to present is a complete copy of a pitch presented a year ago by an agency in London for the Pure Skin brand. I attach the files for comparison. Sincerely, Anonymous." Of course, there was no London agency. But I knew how corporate panic works. They wouldn't have time to verify the details an hour before the meeting. The mere fact of the accusation, the smell of scandal, that's toxic. They would be terrified. I attached her presentation, subtly altering the metadata to make them look older. I worked in a fog. I knew the technical side. I knew how to make it plausible. I hit send. At 11:48 p.m., I called Lena. Hello. Her voice was sleepy. She was home already. Lee, you forgot your laptop. My voice sounded hysterical, but I hoped it sounded like worry. I just noticed. Damn it. I heard her jump up. Oh my God, Mia, I'm an idiot. Don't worry. Just come over in the morning, before the interview. I'll bring it to the office. We'll meet at the cafe downstairs. You are a saint, Mia. Seriously. I love you. I love you too, I said, and I hung up. I threw up in the sink 2 minutes after that call. Friday morning was sunny. New York shined like a brand new coin. We met at Demon DeLuca on Broadway. I handed her the laptop. She hugged me so tightly it hurt to breathe. I rehearsed the whole night in my head. She said, ordering a double espresso. Even without the computer, I'm ready. We took the elevator up to the 14th floor. Glass walls, minimalism, the smell of expensive perfume, and fear. They took us to separate conference rooms. I went first. I performed well. Adrenaline and sheer terror gave me a strange energy. I was sharp, tough, convincing. I saw the partners nodding. They liked my safe, well-thought-out strategy. It was what they needed, reliability. I walked out, feeling my knees shake. Then Lena went in. I waited in the lobby, flipping through a magazine I couldn't see. 10 minutes passed, 15. Usually a presentation lasts half an hour. The door opened after 20 minutes. Lena came out. She was paper white. Her hands were shaking, clutching her laptop bag. She walked past me without looking. Lee, I jumped up. What happened? She stopped, turned around. Her eyes were wet, but she wasn't crying. Her look was pure, absolute confusion, like a kid had been punched for no reason. They said my work was stolen, she whispered. Kevin didn't even let me start. He said they received information, that they don't tolerate unethical behavior. What? I feigned surprise. Give me an Oscar, seriously. That's crazy. What kind of theft? I don't know, Mia. I tried to explain, but they looked at me like dirt. They asked me to leave. She let out a sob, and the sound tore me apart. But right then, somewhere deep inside, I felt another sensation. Warm, sticky, sweet. Relief and triumph. Come on, I said, putting my arm around her. Let's get out of here. They're idiots. We'll figure it out. We left the building. She cried on my shoulder in the cab to Brooklyn. I stroked her hair and said, It's going to be okay. That evening, I got the call. Mia, Kevin's voice said, we were impressed with your presentation. And, considering the circumstances with the other candidate, we'd like to offer you the position. I accepted. The next few months were strange. Lena broke down. That plagiarism accusation, even though it wasn't public, seemed to knock the wind out of her. In our small industry, rumors fly fast. She tried to apply elsewhere but kept getting rejected. Her fire when I did no more than we should be as a character, and my love of love was full of content. The job consumed me. I worked 14-hour days to drown out the voice of my conscience. I became indispensable. I bought new clothes. I moved into a studio closer to Manhattan. Lena and I kept seeing each other, but it wasn't the same. I saw the pain in her eyes. I saw her shrink. After 6 months, she told me she was moving. Austin, Texas, she said, poking at a salad in a cafe in Williamsburg. It's cheaper, and the music scene is good. I need to start over. New York spit me out, Mia. Are you sure? I asked, feeling a rock lift from my chest. If she left, I wouldn't have to look her in the eye every week. Yes, I can't be here anymore. Every building reminds me of that day. I helped her pack. I walked her out to the U-Haul truck. You're the best friend anyone could ask for, she said to me as she hugged me goodbye. Thanks for being there when everything fell apart. I watched the truck pull away, turning onto Bedford Avenue. And only when it was out of sight did I allow myself to breathe out. That was it. The witness was gone. The past was erased. Now I could live my perfect life. A year passed. I got a promotion. I'm a senior account manager now. I have interns who run for my coffee. I have an apartment with an East River view. I date finance bros who wear Patagonia vests and talk about crypto. I almost forgot. Human memory is an amazing thing. It knows how to smooth over the rough edges. I started to believe my own lie. I started to believe I genuinely deserved this spot. That Lena was just unstable. That it was meant to be. It happened last Tuesday. It was raining. That fine, nasty New York drizzle that seems to fly sideways. I was in a cab, coming back from a client meeting on Lafayette Street. I was checking my phone, a WhatsApp notification. Voice message from Elena, 34 seconds. We hadn't spoken in 3 months. Just the usual holiday wishes, likes on Instagram. My heart skipped a beat. I put on my headphones, hit play, background noise. It sounded like wind or highway traffic. And then her voice, not as bright as it used to be, more mature, calm. Hey, Mia. I was just going through my old cloud storage. College photos, our selfies, and I came across the sync logs from my old Mac. The one you had. A pause. Just the sound of her breathing. It shows someone logged in at 11:15 p.m. The night I left it at your place. And that a file was copied to an external drive. My world shrunk to the size of the back seat of the cab. The blood drained from my face. My hand started shaking so hard I dropped my phone onto my lap. I didn't believe it at first. Thought it was a glitch. But then, the puzzle pieces clicked. Your nervousness. How fast you got the offer. Another pause. I waited for the screaming, the curses, the threats of a lawsuit. You know what's funny? I always knew you were more talented than me at the analysis part. You didn't have to do that. You probably would have won anyway. Or not. What does it matter? Her voice broke slightly. I don't hold a grudge, Mia. I really don't. Austin fixed me. I have my own little gallery here. I'm happy. But I just needed to tell you this. So you know that I know. And so you just be honest with yourself. Even if it's only when you're alone. Bye. The message ended. The cab stopped at my building. Ma'am, we're here. I couldn't move. I stared at the screen. Elena. Status. Online 1 minute ago. I needed to reply. To apologize. To explain. To say I was young and stupid. But what would it change? I pressed the message. Selected delete. Delete for me. The message vanished. I got out of the cab into the rain. Went up to my perfect apartment. Poured myself a glass of expensive wine. Stood by the window, looking at the lights of Manhattan. I won. I'm here. I'm at the top. But now I know the truth about the price of this view. The real punishment isn't prison or public shame. The real punishment is living in your head with the person who committed the betrayal, and knowing that person is you. Every morning when I look in the mirror, I don't see a business shark. I see a thief. I see a girl who stole her best friend's life because she was afraid of her own shadow. Lena's right. She's happy in her Austin life. She's free. And I'm trapped here. In this gilded cage I built out of lies. And I don't have the key. And the most terrifying thing is, if I were given the chance to go back to that night, to that stuffy Astoria room, with her laptop on my lap, I'm afraid I'd do the exact same thing again.